Good morning. I am so excited to be here. I got off a plane this morning at 4 a.m. from Nairobi, and so I am coming with a little bit of adrenaline, I think, and hopefully that'll keep us also on track and a little bit of wake. I bring three lenses to this question. One, as a founder of a secondary school for girls in rural Kenya. Girls on full scholarship coming from probably the hardest to reach communities, and also those who are a bit behind in terms of the learning outcomes that they already have achieved in primary level. So one, I come at sort of at a real practitioner level, living in a mud hut for 3 years, setting up a campus, trying to figure out who are my qualified teachers, who is my qualified headmistress, who are the students, where are the parents, and who are the government officials that are actually going to enable change to occur. So that's my first set of lens. My second set of lens is as a researcher, and I'll be very honest, I am trembling with a little excitement to be next to one of my favorite academics in the field. And I think when we get to the question about measurement, you've written I think, an incredible article about whether we treasure what we measure and things like that, so I hope we get to that a little bit more. But then the third set of lens is now as an education officer with the Aga Khan Foundation. And I oversee our school improvement programs in 16 countries. And that means school improvement programs for primary and secondary aged kids. So that's why I was in Nairobi. I came from there, from India, before that, Kyrgyzstan, before that, Tajikistan. So these questions, I think I've not even been thinking with the label of SDGs. I've been thinking classroom practice, teacher preparation programs, and parental involvement. And so I just wanted to say, sort of my introductory comments are really around, in relation to the first question, 3 areas that I'm excited about. The SDG 4 actually promoting sustainability, and then 2 big concerns that I have for the current wording. For those of you who may have not looked at the SDG 4, we have 7 targets and then 3 implementation means. So within the community of policymakers, they will latch onto 4.4, 4.7, or 4.A, 4.C. And when I look at this, I say, okay, there are 3 big, really exciting things. 1, if the Global Partnership of Education came out with a good blog, I would say, and collected 17 ways that focusing on education will actually promote and enable the achievement of the other Sustainable Development Goals. And I just wanted to highlight 4 quick statistics under that. So for example, in the Ending Poverty Goal, and this is all facts from the UNESCO's Global Monitoring Report that is released each year, and is a collection of different academics, policymakers, and statisticians. And according to UNESCO, 171 people could be lifted out of poverty if they have education, a 12% drop in global poverty. If all students in low-income countries left school with basic reading skills. I love what my colleague said about, it's not just about the literacy and numeracy, but we need to really question the relevance and also the social-emotional outcomes that these kids are having. Not just being able to write their name, which in many countries is the level of basic literacy. Second fact that was striking to me, according to UNESCO again, if all mothers in those countries had a primary education, 1.7 million children would be saved from stunting. If mothers had a secondary education, 12.2 million children would be saved from stunting, making that link between a mother's education and a child's health. Under gender equality goal, this is quite striking and also, I think, exciting for the potential. If all the world's girls had primary education, there would be 14% fewer child marriages globally. Imagine what type of economic prosperity could come from that. And then the last one, which I've never seen a study like this, but again, UNESCO is citing that people with secondary education are more likely than those with only primary education to show more tolerance for immigrants. So within their sample, they had 26% showing tolerance versus 16% that only had primary level education. Tolerance of people of a different religion, 39% versus 14%, and people of a different race. So when we're looking at education, we're also trying to get beyond this academic definition. The other two reasons I'm excited about the current SDG 4 is, as my colleague mentioned, it was not only extending to secondary, but also beginning earlier. For the first time, we have an early childhood development goal within the SDG 4. So in a sense, we finally have a representation of a mission to have lifelong learning. Lifelong learning, I think, is a very attractive but also challenging set of really tasks for the global community to do. Because usually we compartmentalize our work into, you're an ECD specialist, you're a primary specialist, you're a secondary specialist. This really challenges us to think about the transitions in between. And then the third and final thing that I'm excited about, well, I'm excited about a lot of things, but this is within the context of the few minutes, is 4.7, which we were a bit discussing up here, that it's kind of a catch-all. And I just want to read that out. By 2030, ensure that all learners acquire knowledge and skills. This is all one paragraph, so I'm going to read it. Needed to promote sustainable development, including, among others, through education for sustainable development and sustainable lifestyles, human rights, gender equality, promotion of culture, peace and nonviolence, global citizenship, and appreciation of cultural diversity of culture's contribution to sustainable development. That's a goal. That's a target. I'm excited because it gets us to think about a pluralistic society. If you take all those buzzwords, you're really talking about empathy and respect. And so how can we actually move forward an agenda that actually promotes that? My two big concerns is when you look at this set of targets and means of implementation is the absence of the focus on the teacher. There is one little target at the end that says we want to improve the supply of qualified teachers. But it's not just about supplying qualified teachers, it's also creating a demand for the teaching profession. There is a risk, and especially a lot of the environments where we work, of the sort of encroachment of many low-cost solutions or low-cost private schools that are really deprofessionalizing the status of teaching, in which they can argue we can train someone for 6 weeks and they can then read a scripted lesson. For many of us here, and especially in the context of Oxford University, I would argue that many of our best teachers were those that actually didn't teach from a textbook or cared about our incorrect or correct answer. They were facilitators of a process of learning.